Hello students, today we are going to study about principles of inheritance and variations. See, whenever organisms reproduce by a sexual mode of reproduction, then the offsprings which are produced, they are not exactly identical to their parents. They are similar to their parents, and if they also give rise to the same kind of an organism. A lion is going to give birth to a lion. A rabbit is going to give rise to a rabbit. Monkey is going to give rise to monkey. Humans will give rise to humans. Okay, but the offsprings which are produced, they look similar to their parents, but they are not exactly the same as that of their parents. Even the offsprings which are of the same parent, they also do not look exactly the same. So, so what happens? There is a uh, because they resemble each other, that means there are certain characters which are transferred from the parents to the offspring, and this transmission or transfer of characters or traits from parents to the offspring is called as heredity and or also called as inheritance. Okay, so the tendency of offspring to resemble their parents is called heredity or inheritance. And the differences which you see between the offspring and the parent or between the offsprings, that is called as variations. Okay, the tendency the tendency of offspring to vary from their parents, the differences which you see between the offspring and the parents, and also the differences which you see between the offspring, that is called as variation. And there is a branch of biology, okay, which deals with all these things. The branch of biology that deals with the study of heredity and variations, that means how the traits are being transferred from parents to the offspring and how the variations are created in the offspring, that is all being studied in the genetics. Okay, there are two types of variations. Okay, one is your hereditary variations and other is your environmental variations. Okay, you see, the first one is your hereditary variations. Variations, you all know, I told you that it is the differences which you see between the offspring and the parents. So that is variations. But those changes which come because of the genes which are being transferred from the parents to the offspring, that is called as hereditary variations. If something is there in the genes, that will come to your gene, and because you have received the genes from your two parents, there are some kind of a differences which is being seen because the gene, you have got a mixture of genes from your parents. Okay, and because of which there is some kind of a difference which is there between the offspring and the parents. So such type of variation, the differences which you see because of the transmission of the traits from parents to offspring, that is called as hereditary variations. Okay. The second is your environmental variation. There are certain differences which you can also see because of the change in the environment. For example, if you are living in India and you have a bit dark complexion, but then when if you go to a country which is bit cold, like Canada, if you go to Canada, then there you will, what will happen with the time, your complexion might become bit fair. Okay, so although that was not transmitted, that particular the gene has transferred you a dark complexion, but then because of the change in the environment, because you have entered from a tropical region to a region where it is very cold, so your complexion have become much fairer. So there are certain variations, there are certain differences which you actually observe when there is a change in the environment. So that is called as environmental variations. Okay. So, and to study all these things, the genetics, Genetics, which I told you that it is a transmission of characters from the offsprings, and because of which, because of the transfer of the characters, you are able to see some kind of a differences between the offspring and the parents and among themselves. So that all was started by Gregor John Mendel. Okay, Gregor John Mendel belonged to a family which was very, very poor. He lived in Austria, and he actually has to suspend his school education because he was his family was quite poor. Later in 1843, he joined a church as a monk. Okay, he was working there in the church. In 1847, he became the head of the monastery at the Brunn, Austria, now called as Brno in Czechoslovakia. And in 1851, he went to the University of Vienna to study natural history and mathematics for 2 years. After his return, he worked as a teacher of natural history and mathematics between 1856 and 1865. And in this duration itself, when he became a teacher in natural history and mathematics, he actually crossbred 28,000 pea plants and recorded their results. He recorded the results of crossbreeding experiments on 28,000 pea plants. And then after doing the crossbreeding, he actually analyzed the results and did a mathematical, gave a mathematical interpretation. Okay. In 1865, after doing all such experiments, he published his work as with the name of Translation of the Characters in Natural History of Society of the Brunn. So what exactly Gregor Mendel did? He actually crossbred many pea plants, and because of which, whatever the interpretation was, he derived the laws of inheritance. He gave the initial boost to the genetics, and he told this is how the traits are being transferred from parents to the offspring. With these laws, we will study later in the slides. He was the first one. Okay, he he was the first one who did a biology experiment, and after doing that experiment, he employed mathematics in it to do certain calculations, and whatever the results he got, he actually analyzed them with a statistical tool. If you want to analyze certain answer, if you have got particular value, okay, after doing certain calculations, and you want to see how much significant it is, so how much correct it is, so you use the statistical tool. Okay, so that is exactly what the Mendel did. He did a biology experiment and he did the calculation, and after the calculation, whatever he got, he actually analyzed it with the help of the statistical tool. He has he has taken a large sample size. He studied on many pea plants, and because of which there was a credibility to the data which he got. He actually crossbred those pea plants which had opposing characters, opposing or contrasting characters, you can say. He took the pea plants, one which was producing a round seeds, and he took another plant which was producing a wrinkled seeds. Okay, so he took a contrasting traits, and these two are the contrasting trait for a trait which is called a seed shape. So you can have seed shape round or wrinkled. So he took these two plants and he did his experiments. Again, he has taken 7 such contrasting characters, like seed for seed color. He took yellow and green, flower color violet and white, pod shape full or constricted, pod color that is green and yellow, flower position axial and terminal, and stem height tall or dwarf. So when he did a cross with these 7 characters, okay, he actually used true breeding lines. What are true breeding lines? True breeding lines are the plant which is generated after repeated self-pollination and that have become homozygous for a particular trait. If suppose he has taken this true breeding plant which was producing a round seeds, so true breeding line, if this is a true breeding plant, then this will be, it will have the two genes which is available for the seed shape, that is round and round only. So if you see in a diploid organism, for every trait you have two genes. Okay, for every trait you will have two genes. Okay, because one you will receive it from your father, and one gene you will receive from your mother for that particular trait. So likewise, if this is a true breeding, so those two genes which I am talking about, like here, if it is a plant which is producing a round seed, and if it is true breeding, that means it has the two genes for seed shape which this plant has, that is round and round gene. Okay, likewise, if he has taken this plant which is showing wrinkle, and if it is true breeding, that means it will have for the seed shape, this plant will have the two genes which is wrinkled and wrinkled gene. Okay, and whenever you will do self pollination with such true breeding plant line, it will always give a plant which will produce a wrinkled seeds. Likewise, for this, if you're taking this plant and you're doing self pollination continuously, it will give you the offspring which will going to produce the round seeds only. Okay, so he has taken these true 14 true breeding lines he has used for conducting his experiments. Okay, now the question is, why exactly he selected the pea plant. So first one, the pea plants were easy to cultivate, they were easy to grow, they were annual plant with short life cycle of only few months. It has a very short life cycle of few months only. So what has happened, whatever experiments he did, he got the result very fast. So he could analyze it fast. Whatever the results he got, he was able to analyze it, okay, in short duration of time. Contrasting trait was observed. He got contrasting traits. If there were many variations of the traits, it would not have been possible for Mendel to deduce any of the laws. But since in the pea plant, he found such contrasting traits, like for stem height, he got the pea plants which was they were either tall or either dwarf. So he got the contrasting traits only. So that was advantageous for him to do the experiments and deduce the results. Flowers are bisexual and normally self-pollinated. Flowers are bisexual. That means bisexual means those flowers which have both male and female reproductive organ in the same flower. That means it will have the carpel also or pistil, and it will have the stamens also within the same flower. So self-pollination was very easy for him. And secondly, cross-pollination can also be done easily or manually. Okay, so by just by removing the anthers from one of the bisexual flower, if anther is removed, so it is left with only carpels. So cross pollination was also very easy, but that has to be done manually. So according to his will, he could cross pollinate the flowers or plant. Now, inheritance of one gene. Okay, what exactly he did? He I already told you that the pea plant was bisexual. That means it is having the stamen also, and it is having this pistil or carpel also. So this is the pistil or carpel, where you are able to see this is the stigma, this is the style, and this bulb-like structure which you are able to see, this is the ovary, and inside it you are able to see certain ovules. There are many ovules in it. Okay, so for doing the first step, what he did cross pollination of the contrasting trait, and the first trait which he used was the stem height. Okay, so one was taken as a male parent because it has anthers, and the second one which he used was taken as a female parent. That means if suppose this is considered as a tall plant, tall true breeding plant, and this is considered as a dwarf true breeding plant. So here in this case, we have to do cross pollination. For doing cross pollination, we have to remove these anthers from one of the flowers. after which we have to dust the pollen grains which will be released from this anther in onto the stigma of this flower. So cross pollination will take place from this plant to this plant. After which, what has happened? Seeds are produced. Now these seeds were taken and they were shown by the Mendel, and then he saw that all the plants which were produced from these seeds, okay, they were all tall. So after doing the cross pollination with a true breeding tall plant with a true breeding dwarf plant, he he got the first generation offsprings. Okay, the first generation offsprings are also called as filial progeny, first filial progeny. Okay, and what did he found? That the F1 plants always resembled either of the parents. The F1 plants, if you see, they all are tall and they are resembling one of the parent, that is the tall plant. Okay, now, but that was a great surprise for him because none of the dwarf plants were produced in the F1 generation. And according to the true breeding concept, if this is homozygous for tallness and this is homozygous for the recessive, and if they are true breeding line, then their characters must be passed on to the next generation. And if they are to be passed, that means tall and dwarf character must have been passed into this F1 generation. That means the genes which was present in these plants, although they looked similar to the one of the parents, yet the two genes which these plants have received, that was one tall gene and one dwarf gene, but the dwarf gene was not expressed in the F1 generation. So in order to find out where that dwarf gene, why it was not expressed, for that he took one of these plants, out of them he took one of these plants and he did self pollination. And self pollination, since the flowers in this pea plant were bisexual, so anther was also there and pistil or carpel was also there. So anthers, pollen grains from the anther went on to the stigma of the same flower. After which, to his great surprise, after the seeds were formed in the flower, after post fertilization, when the seeds were formed, the seed was sown by Mendel, and then he got many tall and dwarf plant, but in the ratio of 3:1. So after doing this experiment, he actually concluded, okay, he actually concluded that there was something that was stably passed down unchanged from parents to the offspring through the gametes over successive generation. That means there is something which was stably being transferred and then it is expressed in the generation, after which it is transferred, that particular factor is transferred into next generation, and then it is transferred to its progeny and that is expressed. So he called those something as factors. Later on it was called as gene, and Mendel called these genes are units of inheritance. They contain these particular factors, they contain the information which is required to express a particular trait in an organism. So if something, that particular gene is transferred from parents to the offspring, that has the information, whatever trait is being expressed in the offspring, and then this is transferred stably to this place, and again the trait will be expressed. Okay, now the genes which code for a pair of contrasting traits are known as alleles. Genes that are coding for contrasting trait. Here the contrasting traits are, for height it is tall and dwarf. Both these genes, tall gene and the dwarf gene, they are coding for height. So they are contrasting traits. Okay, these genes are coding for a pair of contrasting traits. Okay, or we can say that they are slightly different forms of the same gene. Both are genes for height. but these two are slightly different, because of which one plant, the one plant is tall and other is dwarf. So in order not to confuse, he he did a nomenclature, and he said that capital letter will be used for the trait that is expressed at the F1 stage. Okay, and small letter will be used for the other trait which was expressed in the F2 generation. For example, in case of character of height, okay, capital T will be for tall trait, because tall trait was expressed in the F1 generation, and small t will be used for dwarf character. Now, these tall and dwarf trait, okay, tall and dwarf height are the contrasting traits, and these are the genes which are coding for a contrasting traits. Therefore, they are called as alleles of each other. And if in a plant, the pair of alleles, if they are same, exactly identical, if allelic pairs are exactly identical, they are called as homozygous. Okay, and this represents the genotype. Genotype, if genotype is nothing but the genetic constitution of an organism. The two genes as the pea plant will be a diploid organism, so the offsprings or the parent, they both will have, for particular trait they will have two genes. Okay, so if you are showing with the help of alphabet, if you are showing those two genes like capital T or small t or even capital T small t, then you are actually representing the genotype. You are telling what genes are present for the height, what genes you have received from your parents, what two genes you have for a particular trait. So that is called as genotype by writing in alphabets. And based on the genotype, the trait will be expressed. If this is the genotype, if this is the homozygous genotype, that is capital T, that means tall gene, that the offspring or the parent have the tall, both the genes are for tall, then tallness will be expressed. You will be able to see that the plant which is produced, that has a tall height. So that tallness or dwarfness is not, that is the phenotype which you are able to observe from outside. That is the phenotype. So if we are writing tall and dwarf, that is phenotype. Okay. What if the allelic pair is different? Okay. What would be the phenotype in this case? So if it is heterozygous, if the allelic pair is different like this, so Mendel said that one will dominate over the other, as you have seen in case of F1 generation, that one has dominated over the other. And likewise, whenever there will be a heterozygous condition, out of the two genes, out of the two contrasting genes, only one will be expressed. The one which is dominant, that will be expressed. Now, what is monohybrid or monohybrid cross? If you see, this is a heterozygous uh, plant with a capital T and small t gene which are present for the height. Okay, both are controlling one character, that is height. Okay, that means this is called as monohybrid. Mono means one, and hybrid means when the allelic pairs are different. Okay, so you have capital T and small t which is different, and since it is controlling only one character, that is height, so that is monohybrid. If you are doing a cross with a contrasting characters, okay, contrasting characters, then it will be called as a monohybrid cross, where only one trait will be considered. You are taking tall plant and you are taking a dwarf plant and you're doing a cross. You are actually considering one trait, that is height. So such crosses where you are considering only one trait, that is called as monohybrid cross. Now, what was the inference after the observation that the recessive parental trait is expressed without any blending in the F2 generation? Okay. There was no blending you have started with a tall and a dwarf plant. Okay, they are stably being transferred from one generation to the another, and then at one time one dwarf is also expressed. There was no intermediate height plant was observed. So that means tall gene and the dwarf gene, they are not mixing with each other. They are maintaining their own identity. How that was possible? That was possible because the alleles which were present in the parent, they segregate or separate during gamete formation like this. Likewise for this parent also, the alleles will separate themselves, and after that, any of the gametes can fuse with any of the gametes of the other parent. For example, if you are able to see first step, what he did in the monohybrid cross was cross pollination. So in one flower, he has removed the anther, so it has only the stigma. So in the anthers, pollen grains would be produced, and the pollen grain will have either of the pollen grain will have the gametes, male gametes, and those male gametes will have only one of the alleles. So there are so many pollen grains which will be shed. So each pollen grain, the gametes which are present, they will have either small t or this small t. Because this is homozygous, so we have no different types of alleles which are formed. Here they are, the alleles are similar in any of the gametes. Now what will happen once these pollen grain will be shed to the stigma? There the egg will have either this capital T or this capital T in the gamete cell. And after pollination has taken place, cross pollination has taken place, what will happen? These are the ovules which are present in the ovary. So either this capital T can fuse with this one or this one. We don't know. Any of the gametes can enter into this and they can fuse. And after fusion, they can form this combination that all will be heterozygous. And after this, these seeds will be collected and then it will be shown, and a new plant will be seen. Okay. And since in the F1 plants were produced by a true breeding plants, the genotypes of these are capital T, small t, that is heterozygous condition, because the true breeding line will transmit or transfer its character. So these seeds have one tall and one dwarf gene from both the parents. The next what he did, similarly, at step 2, when he did self-pollination, the alleles will going to separate during gamete formation, and then they can combine in any manner. Likewise, if you see, these are the anthers, okay, and this is the carpel, where you are able to see this is stigma, this is style, and this one is your ovary with all the ovule. And you know, inside the ovule we have the embryo sac where egg is present. So in the egg you can either have this capital T or you can have a small t. Okay, so either of the alleles will be present in the egg cell. या तो ये प्रेजेंट होगा, इसके अंदर हो सकता है ये वाला प्रेजेंट हो, इसके अंदर हो सकता है ये वाला जीन प्रेजेंट हो, या इसके अंदर ये वाला प्रेजेंट हो. When cell pollination will take place, now there are so many male gametes which are there. Okay, so any of them can fuse with any of them. If suppose capital T enters this particular ovule, so capital T and capital T will be formed. And if this capital T enters this ovule, so capital T and small t zygote will be formed. And if this capital T enters again this one, so it has capital T in the egg. So capital T and capital T zygote will be formed with a genotype of capital T, capital T. So after which many seeds, after the fertilization and fusion, based on any of the combinations, the seeds will be formed, and seeds with different combinations can be formed. Okay, and once these seeds are formed, they are shown and it is seen that the tall and the dwarf, they were expressed in the ratio of 3:1. So how was it possible? This was possible because the alleles of the parents were segregating during gamete formation, and then they were combining in any manner to form the new combination of plants. Okay, so these were the observations which the Mendel saw. So based on all the observations which he saw, now he derived two laws from the monohybrid cross. So the first one is Mendel's first law, that is law of dominance, where he said the characters are controlled by discrete unit called genes or alleles which occur in pair. So since it is the alleles in a diploid organism, they are always present in pairs. But whenever there is a heterozygous condition, whenever the alleles which are there, they are different, then in that case, only one of the alleles will be expressed. So that is law of dominance. Okay. Now, Mendel's second law, that is law of segregation. This law was based on the fact that the alleles do not show any blending. The alleles which were present, they did not fuse. Their expression does not fuse with each other. They maintained their identity and they were passed from one generation to the another. And that was possible. Why? Because these two alleles, they they segregated individually with their own identity. They segregated in any of the gametes and then they fused to produce tall and off in the ratio of 3:1. So law of segregation means separation. Separation during the formation of gametes. Separation of what? Separation of the alleles. Separation of the alleles during gamete formation. If they will separate during gamete formation, they will easily be able to form different combination, because of which in the F2 generation, the dove plant was also expressed. Now, this whole monohybrid cross, or later on we will study dihybrid cross also, that can all be studied more easily with the help by drawing a Punnett square. So Punnett square was developed by a British genetist, that is Reginald C. Punnett, and that's why it is the name Punnett square, with the name of the scientist who discovered this Punnett square. Okay, so this Punnett square was actually drawn to find the genotypes of the offspring. Okay, so you have to draw a square. Okay, in order to show a cross, you have to draw a square. But how many squares you have to draw? For a monohybrid cross, since two alleles can be formed, you have to make 4 square, 2 into 2. If it is a dihybrid cross, that means there are total 4 alleles which are there, okay, in a parent. So you have to make 4 into 4, that is 16 squares. But here in this monohybrid cross, since 2 alleles can be formed, because there are 2 alleles over here with one parent, so we will do 2 into 2, that is 4. So we have made 4 boxes first, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now what we have to do, the gametes which are formed, according to the law of segregation, the alleles which are present in pairs, they will segregate in different gametes. So one capital T will go to this one. So for one parent, we will write in the x-axis, and the gametes of the other parent we will write in the y-axis. Here we are showing you this selfing, where the both the genotypes of the parents will remain the same, because that is self-pollination. So here we have used the Punnett square to draw the genotypes in the F1 generation to produce offsprings of the F2 generation. So here what we did, we have wrote the gametes of the first parent. We wrote the gametes of the same parent again, because it is self-pollination. Okay. After that, we will now write the genotypes of the fusion. Okay. So if we do the fusion, what will happen? For this box, x-axis, y-axis is this. So you will combine and you will write like this, capital T, capital T. If you move to this box on upper side, you are able to see small t, and on this side you are able to see capital T. So this becomes capital T, small t. Likewise here, capital T, small t, and here this is small t, small t. Okay, like you are able to see small t over here. Okay, So the genotypes are here. You are able to see genotypes are homozygous dominant. Here it is heterozygous. Here also it is heterozygous. Then it will be homozygous recessive. It is written. It is small t small t. This is by mistakenly it is written capital T small t, but this is small t like this. Okay, phenotypes. If you see based on the genotype, if you see according to the law, here both the genes are tall, so of course tall will be expressed. So this is the phenotype. Tall is the phenotype. Here, when Mendel said that whenever there is a heterozygous condition, any one of the traits will be any one of the alleles will be expressed. So out of capital T and small t, capital T will be expressed. So tall will be expressed. Likewise for this one and this one, that is small t. Here both the genes which are there, this is homozygous condition. So small t is coding for dwarfness. So it is the plant will be short or dwarf. Now we have to calculate the genotypic ratio and the phenotypic ratio. Genotypic ratio, which you are able to see over here, that there is one this type, the product of fusion. You will see the different types of product of fusion. This is one product of fusion where you are able to see homozygous. Here you are able to see heterozygous, and then you are able to see homozygous. Let me correct this one. So this is small t. This is homozygous recessive. Okay. So here we have written how many capital T combinations you have got, that is 1. How many capital T, small t combinations you have got, that is 2. And how many small t, that is 1. So it is 1:2:1 ratio. If you look into the phenotypic ratio, okay, this would be tall, okay, this will also be tall, and this will also be tall, okay. All these three are tall. So you have 3:1, okay, 3 tall, okay. So it is 75% tall because 3 tall you have got, okay, out of the 4 offsprings, and you will calculate like this. So you will get, okay, you will get as 75%. So this is 75% you will get as tall. And how many dwarf plants you have got? You have got only one dwarf plant out of the 4. So it becomes 1 by total 4 offsprings into 100. And this is going to give you 25%. Okay, this is 25%. So that is what is written, 75% tall and 25% dwarf. Here you have got, if you want to write in percentage, so it is 1 divided by 4, that is 25%. 2 divided by 4 into 100 is 50%, and 1 divided by 4 again is 25%. Small t combinations. Okay. So we'll end up over here, and we will study the variations of the dominance which was seen by Mendel. That there is incomplete dominance also exists as compared to the dominance character which was given by Mendel. So that we will study in the next video.